Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. It's been a while since I've made a stock video because the market exceeded my expectations and was incredibly bullish. And so for that, I was clearly very wrong about that. But, I'm still very considerate of a huge correction taking place. Still, it goes back to what I was originally believing with where SPY is at and how I do see this entire structure retracing and making a new low, maybe filling out this 401 gap, just kind of like, this sequence here. It's just being played out on a scale I could not have predicted or imagined, and that's just what it is. I wouldn't be too surprised if, I forget what year it was, maybe like 1980 something, the 1980 crash. Very similar to this, where it just kind of made like this, it came down just like this, and then it wasn't able to clear the breakdown. So we're actually above that right now. So I would say if SPY isn't able to hold 515 and we start to come down and fill these daily gaps, I believe that the top would be in. But I don't know, with how I'm looking at the meme stocks right now, with GameStop making a pretty good break recently and AMC kind of in between, especially with earnings today, which was whatever. But maybe SPY does push up for a new high here and kind of act, like this whole situation. Before the 2021 or 2022 bear market. So maybe we're just either in one of these kind of behaviors right here. Anyways, the reason this video is really just kind of trying my luck with AMC again, and going back to this March thing that I've been looking at. See, actually, I guess I want to show it on. I guess it would be best to show the pattern on the left and then the present on the right. But AMC's been really getting its ass kicked, obviously. And I remember way back during this moment, if anyone remembers, or maybe has watched my other AMC videos, I really did think that this breakdown here into this extremely like sideways period was reminiscent of the March buildup. And what we ended up seeing is, I wish Weeble had like a painting tool, but it's okay. But basically, what I was looking at is this reverse was analogous to this reverse here, and it was just on a very small scale. And so we were going to get, maybe this top here was, the low right here, and that we were going to get, possibly, just a lower low, which I thought maybe could have been this low here. And then, that would have been like some compressive algo work, and then we would have seen a run up. And what we ended up seeing is just monotonous downtrend. And I'm sure that there are factors that someone could, put together, especially with fundamentals lacking and theater foot traffic being garbage, and no one honestly is talking about going to the movies anymore. At least my social circle, and from what I just see and hear, but that's just anecdotal. And so, I was looking at this because for the past while, I never really made a video on it, but I've been looking at the market in a I don't really know. I've been really paying attention to this flow behavior of the market and how there are a lot of S curves like this, and they usually just suddenly stop, and then there's a spring action going on. And way back, as I was kind of introduced to this by that one YouTuber, Booksy, and I know that he definitely talks about springs a lot. So, but it just stuck with me. and I started looking at the market as like a flow thing and not so much as a, you know, human buying and selling patterns, because a lot of people could argue that value on the market is, it goes in these patterns of up and down, and you can't predict it because it's human nature, and human nature is chaotic and whatever. But, another person could argue that there has to be systems in place to keep that chaos to a balance, right? So, of course, there's chaos, of course, there's uncertainty, but at the same time, you can't deny the fact that there's also a flow, right? Like right here, this S curve looks like an S curve right here, right? And sure, I would say if you keep this in your mind and you look at the market going forward in this kind of sense, and you start to pay attention to, curves, like how a stock will, slowly fizzle like this over months and months and months, and it'll look like it's rounding up like this, right? And then you could buy in at that point, and you could get a nice little trade pop here. But then, of course, what I've noticed is there are, or at least where the uncertainty comes in, is at this point it could be a fake out and it comes lower, right? Or, maybe this is a reversal and then it goes up way above and beyond the, original breakdown point. And so it's the same thing with S curves. Like S curves do this weird thing where, they'll make a huge move like this, right? Let's just, for example, just like a straight line down, right? Kind of like what we're seeing here on AMC. And then you can see this fizzle action, right? And I'd say, honestly, if you were to black out that part right here, you were to black this out, and you didn't know the future, right? Well, this looks like it's curling. You know what I mean? This looks like you could argue this as a curl effect, and it could do this, and it could reverse. But at the same time, if you are keeping in mind of what an S-curve does and how it behaves, you have to keep an open mind that, yes, this could just be, that S-curve down. And usually what I've noticed, and also thanks to Booksy and his work, is that usually the second move mimics the same amount of percent, or like the same, I guess, length really as the first move, right? So like, if you took this line, I guess, and it really just comes down to eyeing, and I don't want to get into it because it's a whole topic in itself, right? But I'm using this as context before I get into where I'm going to tell you my take on AMC going forward and where I think it's at. And so, even though my fractal assumptions haven't been working out, I do believe that I was onto something when I said that, right here, this whole section was similar to March, right? Because you have an S curve that goes down into this section, just like here. And then you have, at least with March, if you connect these points here, you'll get your top. And so I thought that, at most what we'd get is, 8 something. So that's why I was predicting 8 for AMC right here. I was expecting a pop, and now we're going down. And the question is why? And there's so many complicated ideas about fractal rotation and symmetry, and how fractals are never one-to-one, and they're played out on a certain angle in a certain way. And so myself being a little ignorant to that topic, and not going to say I'm an expert, obviously, especially with my past trying to predict this stock, but I'd say that maybe this S curve here that we're experiencing on AMC is excuse me, is kind of like this, right? Or right? And if we want to get a little crazy, you could zoom in here, and you can see how these 2 points are similar. So, my ultimate conclusion for AMC is really going to come down to how tomorrow plays out, right? So you see how we have a lower high here, and then on the right here, you can see we have a lower high as well. And you can also see how we have the S curve coming down, kind of like this, right? And then you get that reversal into this behavior, right? And so, maybe March is still in effect here, just on a completely wild scale that I could not have been able to see coming. And I've just been very intrigued by AMC's decline, with the amount of popularity that there is surrounding this. And, you also have this reversal here. It could also maybe be showcased in the same light in this instance here, especially when, this bounce was off of a trend line that goes pretty far back. I think, I don't remember when I said it. Let's get rid of that. Right, so this trend line here with that reversal right here, I have going back pretty far from the top. Well, it wasn't the top of the stock, but just from this high, after its beginning, and then coming down kind of like a vector, and then we can see we get a bounce off of this. At least connecting these 2 tops here, we can see respect here, and we have some odd respects going on here before the January run up, but it's just a line at the end of the day. And I do think that this reversal was interesting, so which is why I noted it. And we closed on the day below it, right? And you can see that on the daily, some of these candles, how they've been respecting around this line as well. So it's a little nerve-wracking. So I would say that, going into tomorrow, preferably, I'd like to see some sort of reversal end of day. I mean, if it comes down, 9 or so percent, because the earnings was not the greatest, but at the same time, the earnings being for what it was, given that foot traffic is down from last year, which is just not a good sign in general. But the fact that they were able to keep up with revenue, given that fact, is admirable, But at the end of the day, the stock is very slow going with its progress, and so we'll just take what we can get. And so I would say that if we don't get a really good daily close, at least above today's close, then I would say there's another bearish wave coming, and maybe what we'll get is just a new low. But I mean, we'd really have to stop at 2.8, and then yeah, and then I mean that's really all I can say about that, because it is very possible that we just have like a couple of weeks of just decline, really. But I would really like to see how tomorrow goes, and I really think AMC is getting close to something. I guess that's why I wanted to make this video, just because, not because I'm trying to make anyone money or try to sound right, but actually just to show that, maybe as like a value play or like some kind of lesson. It's AMC's been getting destroyed. And actually, another note is, if anyone has ever considered, or I guess knows about my 1 minute gap ideas and stuff like that, on Webull you can only see them, because on TradingView there's 1 minute gaps all over the place. But I have a firm belief that 1 minute gaps tell a lot, especially on AMC because the stock is a popular stock and it's traded a lot. And you can see there aren't a lot of gaps intraday. And you have these long wicks after hours, which fills a lot of these gaps, so you don't see them. But then some of the times there are these small gaps that are left, and I think that they have weight. So I'm going back because I want to show. I wish I remember the date because I understand this is kind of annoying, but during intraday trading, so not even after hours, right, or pre-market, which is where most of my 1 minute gaps come from, like right here, like a 5.6. I believe all these gaps are going to get filled eventually, by the way. Right, 6.7, you know. Let's see, but it was in the sevens area. And I want to show it and then zoom out on the daily just to kind of give you an idea. Alright, so we have two gaps here actually. The pre-market session leading into it, and then during intraday. So I'm just going to note these. And then kind of zoom out and give you a sense of what it looks like. So right, so you can see what we're dealing with here. And we have this odd daily gap here, which is obviously going to get filled. I mean, I don't know how long it's going to take, but come on, it's obvious. AMC is obviously going to go and hit 4 again. Yeah, this 1 minute gap, you know, making this, you know, almost like a golden pocket, sort of, you could say, is very telling to me. And even though after this earnings call things look bad, they didn't address some things, which I was hoping for, but who knows, right? And I mean, if we consider the link to GameStop, I mean, look at this thing. Was there news on GameStop? No, there wasn't. There was no news that caused this run. And it was set up, or I mean, at least it looked like AMC is set up in the same way, but it was waiting with earnings to see what was going to happen. Right? So if we just take the noise away here and I zoom out, I was almost thinking that this section here, excuse me, this section here on the right, this like slow grind up for earnings, was sort of just waiting for earnings, and how I thought earnings was gonna make a breakout, but I think they just want to IV crush and just let the real move happen tomorrow during the open. We'll see though. I think it's odd how GameStop is running now, and AMC didn't move at all. I mean, it did move a lot after the spring to 2.3, but just things look very odd. I think AMC is close to doing something, and it's gonna be something that we haven't seen on the stock in a long time. And I don't know how far it's going to go. I don't know to what extent, but a big move is happening. And that's really all I wanted to make this video about. So I wish you guys the best of luck. I hope trading's going well. And until next time, peace.